Have you ever wondered about the extraordinary structures mentioned in the Bible? Those architectural marvels that have baffled scientists and left historians scratching their heads? From towering wonders to impossibly precise engineering feats, the Bible is full of stories about breathtaking constructions that challenge our understanding of ancient civilizations. In this video, we're diving into the most mind-blowing biblical constructions that continue to amaze experts today. Picture the grandeur of Solomon's temple, built with lavish materials and unmatched craftsmanship, or the mighty walls of Jericho, which famously fell in a most mysterious and miraculous way. Then there's the legendary Tower of Babel, a structure so ambitious it reached for the heavens and sparked divine intervention. Each of these monuments is more than just a story. They're tangible reminders of ancient ingenuity and faith that still inspire awe in modern minds. But here's what's even more fascinating. Modern scientists are only just beginning to uncover the secrets of these constructions. Despite advanced technology and sophisticated tools, researchers still can't fully explain how these ancient builders managed such impressive feats. How did they move such massive stones? What hidden techniques did they use? What deeper meanings were embedded in their designs? Join us as we reveal the greatest constructions in the Bible, structures that defy explanation, blur the lines between legend and reality, and offer us a window into a world where faith and engineering walked hand in hand. You'll be captivated, challenged, and perhaps even left speechless yourself. Let's explore the mysteries together. Noah's Ark, a monument to faith and survival picture. A world spiraling into chaos, where corruption and violence have consumed humanity. The air is thick with tension, the earth scarred by greed and conflict. In this ancient era, one man stands apart, chosen for a mission so audacious it defies comprehension. Build a massive ship, not for trade or conquest, but to save your family and representatives of every animal species from a catastrophic flood that will reshape the world. This is the story of Noah, a figure whose tale has echoed through millennia, captivating hearts, sparking fierce debates, and challenging the boundaries of faith, science, and human endurance. The Bible paints a vivid, almost cinematic picture of Noah's task. God's command, detailed in the book of Genesis, was clear yet staggering. Construct an ark of gopher wood, a material scholars still puzzle over, but likely a durable timber, possibly cypress, known for its resilience against rot. The dimensions were nothing short of monumental, approximately 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. To put that in perspective, this ark was nearly the size of a modern cargo ship, a floating fortress designed to withstand the most devastating deluge imaginable. Coated inside and out with pitch, a tar-like substance to ensure watertightness, the ark was no mere boat. It was a sanctuary for life itself, a vessel meant to preserve God's creation against an apocalyptic judgment. Imagine Noah standing under the blazing sun, his hands blistered and calloused from cutting and shaping massive timbers without a single modern tool. No power saws, no hydraulic lifts, no blueprints drafted on a computer. Just raw determination, sweat-soaked resolve, and an unshakable faith in a divine promise. For decades, some traditions suggest up to 120 years, he toiled, carving intricate joints, designing compartments, and assembling a structure that would dwarf anything his contemporaries could fathom. His neighbors, living in a land far from any sea, mocked him relentlessly. "A flood," they jeered, pointing to the dry, cracked earth. "You're building a ship for what?" The weight of Noah's responsibility was immense. Not only to save his wife, sons, and their families, but to preserve every species of animal, from the smallest sparrow to the mightiest elephant, against a cataclysm that would erase the world as they knew it. How did Noah accomplish this feat? Without advanced engineering, How did he move massive logs, ensure the ark's structural integrity, and create a vessel capable of surviving months at sea? The Bible offers no detailed blueprint, but it hints at divine guidance, a wisdom that transcended human limitations. Some scholars speculate that Noah may have employed rudimentary pulley systems or levers, techniques known in ancient construction as seen in Egyptian and Mesopotamian projects. Others argue that his success was nothing short of a miracle, a testament to divine empowerment that enabled one man to achieve the impossible. The logistics of housing animals raise even more questions. Lions, giraffes, birds, insects. How did he organize such a diverse menagerie? How did he ensure they had enough food, water, and space? Ancient Jewish texts, like the Book of Jubilees, suggest the ark had multiple levels, possibly with specialized compartments for different species, but the details remain shrouded in mystery. Did Noah devise a system to manage waste and maintain order, or was divine intervention at play, calming the animals and sustaining them through the ordeal? The most pressing question, one that has fueled debates for centuries, is whether such a flood actually occurred. Could water cover the mountains, as the Bible claims, submerging the entire earth? Science has long grappled with this enigma. Geologists point to compelling evidence of massive flooding in the Mesopotamian region around 2900 BCE, possibly triggered by glacial melt, a meteor impact, or a catastrophic overflow of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Sedimentary layers unearthed in modern-day Iraq reveal signs of a deluge that could have inundated vast areas, leaving a lasting imprint on human memory. This event may have inspired flood myths across cultures, from the Epic of Gilgamesh in ancient Mesopotamia to Native American legends of a great deluge. But a global flood? That remains a point of contention. Critics argue that the biblical account may exaggerate a regional catastrophe, perhaps a massive inundation of the Black Sea or Persian Gulf. Believers, however, hold that divine intervention could have orchestrated a worldwide cataclysm, defying the limits of natural explanation. The lack of definitive geological evidence for a global flood keeps the debate alive, with scientists and theologians wrestling over whether faith or empirical data holds the key to truth. Then, there's the Ark itself, a tantalizing mystery that continues to capture the imagination. In 1959, a Turkish pilot flying over Mount Ararat in eastern Turkey spotted a formation that looked eerily like the hull of a massive ship nestled in the rugged, icy slopes. Since then, countless expeditions have scoured the mountain, braving treacherous terrain in search of Noah's Ark. Some have returned with fragments of petrified wood, others with photographs of geological anomalies that resemble a vessel's outline. In the 1970s and 1980s, explorers claimed to find structures consistent with a large ship, with compartments and beams that defied natural explanation. Radiocarbon dating of wood samples has yielded mixed results, with some dating back 4,000 to 5,000 years, roughly aligning with the biblical timeline. Yet skeptics, including many scientists, dismiss these findings as natural rock formations or remnants of ancient settlements, arguing that the harsh climate of Ararat would unlikely preserve a wooden structure for millennia. Satellite imagery and ground-penetrating radar have added fuel to the debate, revealing intriguing shapes beneath the ice. But no discovery has been conclusive. Is it really Noah's Ark, or is it a mirage born of hope and faith? For believers, the Ark's physical existence is secondary to its spiritual significance. It stands as a towering symbol of obedience, resilience, and divine salvation. Noah's unwavering commitment to God's command, despite ridicule and impossibility, challenges us to consider the power of faith in our own lives. Could we, like Noah, trust in a vision that seems absurd to the world? For skeptics, the story raises profound questions about the intersection of history and myth. Even if the Ark is never found, its narrative endures, woven into the fabric of countless cultures and religions. The search for Noah's Ark, whether on the slopes of Ararat or in the pages of Scripture, reminds us that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, but to inspire. As we stand in awe of this ancient tale, we're invited to reflect, what does Noah's Ark mean to us today? In a world facing its own storms, climate crises, societal divisions, personal struggles, the Ark calls us to build our own sanctuaries of faith and hope. It asks us to trust in something greater, to persevere through doubt, and to believe that even in the darkest floods, there is a promise of renewal. The story of Noah's Ark is not just a relic of the past, it's a beacon for the future, urging us to construct lives of purpose and resilience, no matter the odds. The walls of Jericho, a miracle of sound and faith. Close your eyes and transport yourself to an ancient landscape where the sun beats down on a dusty plain in the Jordan Valley. Before you looms the city of Jericho, one of humanity's oldest settlements, its towering walls rising like an impregnable fortress carved from the earth itself. These walls, thick and unyielding, stand as a testament to the ingenuity and resilience of an ancient people, designed to repel any invader with their sheer mass and strength. Yet, according to the Bible, these formidable barriers didn't succumb to siege engines, battering rams, or cunning military tactics. They collapsed through something far more enigmatic: the haunting sound of rams' horn trumpets and the unified shouts of a faithful army. This is the story of Jericho, a tale that defies logic, challenges science, and continues to captivate scholars, archaeologists, and believers across the ages. The book of Joshua unfolds this extraordinary account with gripping detail. After 40 years of wandering in the desert, the Israelites, led by Joshua, stood on the threshold of the Promised Land. Jericho, with its massive fortifications, was their first formidable obstacle. A city so well defended that any conventional attack seemed doomed to fail. Its walls, possibly made of mud brick reinforced with stone, were not just physical barriers, but symbols of invincibility, a daunting challenge to a weary people seeking a new home. Yet God had a plan, one that baffled even the most seasoned warriors and turned military strategy on its head. The divine command was as peculiar as it was precise. For 6 days, the Israelites were to march around Jericho in complete silence, once each day, led by priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant, the sacred symbol of God's presence. Accompanying them were other priests blowing shofars, rams' horn trumpets, whose eerie, resonant notes pierced the air. No weapons were drawn, no war cries uttered, just an eerie procession of silent steps and haunting music. On the 7th day, the plan escalated. 7 circuits around the city, the trumpets sounding with unrelenting intensity, followed by a mighty, unified shout from the entire assembly. At that moment, the Bible declares, the walls of Jericho collapsed, their rubble paving the way for the Israelites to seize the city in a stunning victory. Pause and let that sink in. Could the sound of trumpets and human voices alone bring down such massive walls? The idea seems absurd, almost fantastical. Ancient city walls were engineered to withstand earthquakes, battering rams, and prolonged sieges. Jericho's fortifications, likely standing 20-30 feet high and several feet thick, were built to endure the harshest assaults. Yet the biblical account insists that these walls fell not by human force, but by divine intervention, a miracle orchestrated by faith and obedience. This claim has sparked centuries of debate, with scholars and scientists seeking to unravel the mystery behind this extraordinary event. In the 1950s, British archaeologist Kathleen Kenyon conducted groundbreaking excavations at Jericho, unearthing evidence that added fuel to the intrigue. Her team uncovered remnants of a collapsed wall dated to around 1400 BCE, aligning roughly with the biblical timeline of the Israelite conquest. Most strikingly, her findings suggested that the walls fell inward, an unusual pattern that contradicts typical siege damage, where invaders breach walls from the outside. This anomaly has led some to speculate that something extraordinary, perhaps supernatural, occurred at Jericho. The inward collapse could imply a force acting from within or above, defying conventional explanations of warfare. Could there be a natural explanation for this phenomenon? Jericho sits atop a geological fault line in the Jordan Rift Valley, where earthquakes are not uncommon. Some researchers propose that a perfectly timed tremor coincided with the Israelites' march, causing the walls to crumble. The region's seismic activity supports this theory, as ancient records and geological studies confirm periodic quakes in the area. Yet this hypothesis raises a critical question. How could Joshua have known the exact moment an earthquake would strike? The precision of the event, trumpets sounding, shouts rising, and walls falling in unison, suggests a synchronicity that defies mere chance. Modern experiments with acoustics offer another angle, demonstrating that sound waves, under specific conditions, can weaken structures by creating vibrations. However, replicating this effect on the scale of Jericho's massive walls remains beyond current scientific capabilities, leaving the biblical account in a realm of tantalizing mystery. For believers, the fall of Jericho is more than a historical curiosity. It's a profound testament to the power of obedience and divine will. The silent marches, the relentless trumpets, the climactic shout. These were not military tactics, but acts of radical faith, trusting in a God who could move mountains or topple walls. The story challenges us to consider the strength of unwavering commitment, even when the world deems our efforts foolish. For skeptics, Jericho raises provocative questions about the interplay between natural phenomena and divine timing. Could God have wielded an earthquake as his instrument, aligning the forces of nature with the faith of his people? Or is the story a symbolic exaggeration, a mythologized victory that reflects the Israelites' cultural memory? The ruins of Jericho, still studied by archaeologists today, offer no definitive answers, but they stand as a haunting reminder of a moment when the impossible became reality. Pottery shards, charred remains, and collapsed stones whisper of a city that fell under extraordinary circumstances, inviting us to ponder the boundaries of history and faith. Whether viewed as a miracle or a mystery, the fall of Jericho compels us to confront the power of belief and the possibility that divine forces can shape the course of human events. As we reflect on this ancient tale, we're invited to ask ourselves, what walls stand in our own lives? Obstacles that seem insurmountable. Like the Israelites, are we willing to trust in a higher plan, to march in faith even when the outcome is uncertain? The story of Jericho is not just a relic of the past. It's a call to action, urging us to believe that with faith, even the mightiest barriers can crumble. Solomon's Temple, a golden sanctuary for the divine, step into a world of breathtaking splendor, where sunlight dances on walls of pure gold, casting a celestial glow that seems to transcend the earthly realm. This is Solomon's Temple, the crowning jewel of Israel's sacred architecture, a sanctuary built not merely to honor God, but to house his very presence. Its story is a tapestry woven with divine inspiration, human ingenuity, and profound spiritual significance, a monument that continues to captivate the imagination, its secrets echoing through the corridors of time like a whispered prayer. The dream of this sacred edifice began with King David, Israel's warrior poet, whose heart burned with a longing to create a permanent dwelling for God. Yet, the divine mandate passed to his son Solomon, a king renowned for his unparalleled wisdom. The chosen site was Mount Moriah in Jerusalem, a location steeped in sacred history. This was the very ground where Abraham, centuries earlier, stood ready to sacrifice his son Isaac, a place marked by divine encounters and covenantal promises. To build on such hallowed soil was to weave the temple into the spiritual fabric of Israel's identity, a beacon of faith for generations. The construction of Solomon's temple, detailed in the books of Kings and Chronicles, was a feat of engineering and artistry that pushed the boundaries of ancient craftsmanship. Massive stone blocks, hewn from distant quarries, were meticulously shaped off-site to ensure no sound of hammer or chisel disturbed the sanctity of the holy ground. A detail that speaks to the reverence infused into every aspect of the project. Cedars of Lebanon, prized for their towering strength and aromatic beauty, were shipped from the distant forests of Phoenicia, their rich scent filling the air with a sense of royalty and divine connection. These timbers, symbols of enduring majesty, framed a structure meant to reflect the glory of the Creator himself. Inside, the temple was a masterpiece of opulence and symbolism. Walls overlaid with shimmering gold transformed the interior into a radiant sanctuary where every surface gleamed with celestial brilliance. Intricate carvings of cherubim, palm, trees, and blooming flowers adorned the walls, evoking the Garden of Eden and the harmony of God's creation. At the heart of the temple lay the Holy of Holies, a sacred chamber veiled by a heavy curtain where the Ark of the Covenant rested. This mysterious artifact, believed to embody God's tangible presence, made the temple the spiritual epicenter of Israel, a place where heaven and earth converged. After 7 years of relentless labor, involving tens of thousands of workers and vast resources, the temple stood complete. Its dedication was a moment of divine drama that etched itself into Israel's collective memory. King Solomon, standing before the gathered nation, offered a heartfelt prayer, beseeching God to accept this house as his earthly dwelling. As his words rose to the heavens, a glorious cloud descended, filling the temple with an overwhelming, indescribable presence. Then, in a blaze of divine affirmation, fire fell from the sky, consuming the altar's sacrifices. The Israelites, awestruck, fell to their knees, their hearts gripped by the realization that they stood in the presence of the living Creator. Archaeologically, Solomon's temple remains an enigma. The Temple Mount in Jerusalem, where it once stood, is a contested site, and centuries of destruction and rebuilding, first by the Babylonians in 587 BCE, then through subsequent occupations, have left no direct remains. Yet ancient texts, including the writings of Jewish historian Josephus and other non-biblical sources, describe a structure of unparalleled grandeur, corroborating the biblical account. Artifacts like the Giza calendar and inscriptions from nearby cultures hint at the wealth and sophistication of Solomon's era, lending credence to the temple's existence. The temple's spiritual legacy endures far beyond its physical form. It symbolized the covenant between God and his people, a sacred bond that promised divine presence amidst human imperfection. Its destruction marked a devastating turning point, yet its ideal persists in Jewish and Christian thought as a vision of divine communion. For believers, Solomon's temple is a reminder of God's desire to dwell among us, calling us to create spaces, both physical and spiritual, where his presence can abide. For historians, it's a puzzle that bridges faith and archaeology, urging us to seek truth in the shadows of the past. As we marvel at this golden sanctuary, we're invited to reflect. What temples are we building in our own lives? Are we crafting spaces of reverence and connection where the divine can dwell? Solomon's temple, with its radiant walls and sacred heart, challenges us to pursue a legacy of faith, beauty, and devotion that shines through the ages. The Tower of Babel, a monument to human ambition. Imagine a world where every voice speaks the same tongue, where borders dissolve and humanity unites under a single audacious dream. In the fertile plain of Shinar, the descendants of Noah, survivors of the great flood, gather with a vision that burns brighter than the Mesopotamian sun, to build a tower so grand it pierces the heavens, a monument to their greatness and self-sufficiency. This is the Tower of Babel, a story of soaring ambition, divine intervention, and the birth of the world's kaleidoscope of cultures, a tale that pulses with timeless warnings and profound truths. The book of Genesis paints a vivid scene of this ancient endeavor. In the wake of the flood, Noah's descendants, bound by a shared language, settle in Shinar, a region corresponding to modern-day southern Iraq. United in purpose, they reject the scattered existence of their ancestors, proclaiming, "Let us make a name for ourselves so that we will not be scattered over the face of the earth." Genesis 11:4. Their plan is bold, almost defiant, to construct a tower that reaches the skies, a symbol of human ingenuity and independence. They innovate, firing bricks in kilns and using bitumen, a tar-like mortar, to create a structure that defies the limits of their time. This is no mere building. It's a challenge to the divine, a declaration that humanity can rival the heavens. Yet their ambition, untempered by humility, stirs a divine response. God, observing their hubris, intervenes with a stroke of cosmic irony. He confounds their language, transforming their unified speech into a cacophony of unfamiliar tongues. Picture the chaos. A mason calls for a brick, but his partner hears gibberish. A foreman shouts instructions, only to be met with blank stares. What was once a symphony of coordinated effort descends into pandemonium. Unable to communicate, the builders abandon their tower, its unfinished spire a silent testament to their folly. Scattered across the earth, they form the diverse nations and cultures that define human history, their shared dream fractured by the very ambition that birthed it. Scholars draw compelling parallels between the Tower of Babel and the ziggurats of ancient Mesopotamia, stepped pyramids that served as religious and civic hubs. The most famous, the Etemenanki in Babylon, meaning the house that unites heaven and earth, bears a striking resemblance to the biblical tower. This massive structure, dedicated to the god Marduk, stood as a marvel of engineering, with its tiered levels rising toward the sky. Archaeological evidence reveals that ziggurats were constructed with baked bricks and bitumen, mirroring the techniques described in Genesis. While no single ruin perfectly matches the Tower of Babel, the Etemenanki's name and purpose echo the biblical narrative, suggesting that the story may have been inspired by real Mesopotamian monuments, woven into a cautionary tale about human pride. The story's deeper lesson transcends its historical roots, offering a timeless warning. Unchecked ambition can sow division, and unity without reverence invites collapse. The builders of Babel sought to immortalize their name, but their legacy became one of fragmentation. Today, as we erect skyscrapers that scrape the clouds and weave digital networks that span the globe, the Tower of Babel speaks with urgent relevance. Our technological triumphs mirror the ingenuity of Shinar's people, but they also pose the same risks. In our pursuit of greatness, whether through artificial intelligence, global connectivity, or monumental architecture, are we building with humility, or are we daring the heavens as Babel's builders did? The Tower of Babel is more than a myth. It's a mirror reflecting our own aspirations and flaws. It challenges us to temper ambition with wisdom, to seek unity not for self-glorification, but for a higher purpose. As we stand in the shadow of this ancient story, we're invited to ask, what towers are we building today, and what legacy will they leave? The scattered stones of Babel remind us that true greatness lies not in defying the divine, but in aligning our dreams with reverence and purpose, forging a world where diversity becomes a strength, not a fracture. The Second Temple, a symbol of rebirth and tragedy. Finally, we arrive at one of the most powerful and symbolic structures in all of biblical history, the Second Temple of Jerusalem, a place not just built from stone, but from longing, faith, and the unbreakable will of a people who had lost everything. After the devastating destruction of Solomon's glorious temple, the Jewish people were exiled to Babylon. For 70 long years they lived as captives, their homeland a memory, their sacred center reduced to rubble. But hope didn't die in exile. When Cyrus the Great of Persia issued a decree allowing them to return, they didn't come back in silence. They came with a mission to rebuild not only a city, but their spiritual identity. What rose from that dream was the Second Temple. It was humble compared to the grandeur of Solomon's original masterpiece. No Ark of the Covenant, no gold-covered sanctuary. But the prophet Haggai spoke a strange and powerful prophecy. The glory of this latter house shall be greater than the former. How could that be? How could a simpler temple outshine the first? The answer would unfold over centuries. Enter Herod the Great. Often remembered as a tyrant, he was also a master builder with an eye for magnificence. Herod expanded and renovated the Second Temple into a marvel of the ancient world. Vast courtyards, soaring columns, golden trim, and gleaming white marble, it became a beacon not only of Jewish faith but of regional awe. It wasn't just a building, it was a statement. And it was here, on these very stones, beneath these very colonnades, that Jesus of Nazareth taught. The masses flipped the tables of corruption and defied the powerful. He didn't come to admire its architecture. He came to expose the spiritual rot that sometimes hides behind sacred walls. His words were both revolutionary and unsettling. Destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days. At the time, few understood what he meant. But in 70 CE, during the First Jewish Revolt, the Roman army, led by Titus, marched through Jerusalem with fire and fury. The temple was burned, torn down stone by stone, just as Jesus had foretold. Only one fragment survived, the Western Wall, a symbol of grief, memory, and endurance. But Jesus' message didn't end with destruction. It pointed to something deeper. The temple was no longer a building. It was no longer bound by location, by gold, by ritual. It would now live in the hearts of those who believed. The divine presence had moved, not into temples made by hands, but into living temples of flesh and spirit. The Second Temple, then, was not just a monument of the past. It was a turning point in the spiritual history of humanity. A silent witness to prophecy, revolution, and transformation. And though it fell, its echo still shapes faith today. In your opinion, which of these constructions inspires modern people the most today? Share your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. We want to sincerely thank you for taking the time to watch the video in its entirety. If you're interested in exploring more topics on spirituality, inner transformation, or mind philosophy, don't forget to subscribe to the Top Hidden Knowledge channel for more content on wisdom, spirituality, and personal growth. Or, if you have time, check out other videos on this channel. Until next time.